Hey, how's it going? My name is Angel Tyler Brown, PPC marketing aficionado, right? I'm coining that term. I'm taking it on as my own. It's going to be my brand. You don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. Today's video is going to be about hiring for a PPC marketing position. Now, I would not say that you should take these tips to hire for someone that is just, if you're looking for someone with skill level below 1 year, disregard this. I mean, if they have a solid grasp of PPC marketing, if they know a specific platform, such as they're probably going to know Google ads or they may know Facebook ads, I would say they're pretty much good to go. I'm going to talk about 5 tips in total. All right, tip number 1 is certifications don't mean anything. So I'm going to explain why the certifications, aside from the fact that you can literally just look up all the answers. The certification goes through the bare minimum of what you need to know in order to just get your account set up, basically. Get your account set up and running. It doesn't really go into depth about what to do in certain scenarios at all. So, yeah, like the certification, I would not judge someone's efficiency at PPC just based on certifications, especially the Google Ads certification. Tip number 2, this is a big one for me, okay? Does this person keep up with the actual landscape of the PPC field? Do they keep up with the platforms that they are on? If they are on Google Ads, they better be keeping up with what's new, what's going on in the platform, what do they notice within the accounts that they're running that was not working or that was working beforehand that are now not working. There are certain strategies that were working beforehand that are now not. For example, the change in the usage of match types have literally drastically changed from 2 years ago. I mean, literally, let's go through an example, right? So in an account build that I would have built 2 years ago, right? You would not catch me using so much of broad keywords that I use now, right? Broad keywords now are almost performing on par with the phrase match keywords, right? If you would have told me to include a bunch of broad match keywords as a majority of the keyword build or of the keywords they were targeting, I would have looked at you with 4 eyes. If they're not talking about anything of the recent news or if they're not talking about anything in depth, that's a red flag to me. But yeah, so ask them specific questions about what's going on in the PPC field. If you don't know much about PPC, hey, just go to a blog or two, just look up any new thing that's going on in the PPC field and just ask them a question about it. You don't even really have to know much about it. Just get a general sense of what's going on, ask them about it, and see what the response is. If it's a very general response, hey, kind of a red flag to me. If they're giving an in-depth response, then it's like, good. Tip number 3, you want to make sure that they have a solid understanding of all the KPIs and metrics that is, going to be going on within, let's say, the Google Ads. I'm going to specifically talk about the Google Ads interface, the Google Ads platform, just for now, just to make it easy, because most of the people that are watching this, that are interested in PPC, are probably going to be thinking about Google Ads or Facebook Ads, but I personally like Google Ads a little more. So I'm going to be talking about the Google Ads side of things. But PPC really applies to all platforms. I mean, all these tips literally apply to all these platforms. Yeah. So how well do they understand KPIs and metrics within the platform that they're working with? So for example, whenever I'm using manual bidding and I want to kind of gauge, how low within the ranking am I? How low am I actually bidding? How low can I actually go and still get impressions? One metric that not a lot of people will look at is, search lost top impression share, right? And this basically shows you how often your ad didn't show above the organic rank search. So if I see that my ad is not showing up, if I'm in the 80% range, I know I'm pretty much getting to the ceiling of how low I can kind of go. 80%, 90%, etc. I'm getting kind of to that ceiling, so that's usually where I like to be, as long as I'm still getting conversion. Because sometimes what may happen is people's perception of the brand may be skewed and they might not convert as much as someone that's showing up at the top of the ranks more aggressively. People tend to trust people tend to have more trust in the brands and companies that are on the first page rather than second, third, fourth, etc. Right? So that's just one thing to keep in mind. But if you're still converting within the actual KPIs, then continue to bid that way. But yeah, that's one thing that someone that just started out is probably not gonna know, probably not gonna understand. But yeah, just ask them certain questions about metrics, right? You can literally go to Google Ads, go into the platform, right, and maybe go into the campaign view or maybe the search keywords view, whatever view, but just basically have the view where you have all your metrics, right? Excuse me. Have all the metrics available to you, right? You can just hover over the metric and you will literally be able to see an explanation of the actual metric. Literally just ask them. But go into the metrics that are not quite often used. So right now I have my screen up. I'm just looking at some ones that not a lot of people use. Like I said, the search loss top impression share is one that I commonly use. Ask them about quality score. Like, how do they use quality score within managing their campaigns? Like, where does that kind of play a role in their management of the campaigns? Do they usually say, oh, hey, I want to really keep that quality score front of mind at all times? Because in my philosophy, for example, I have primary goals and then I have secondary goals. If something is a secondary goal to me, as long as I am achieving that primary goal, that secondary goal does not matter. Okay, so if the cost per conversion needs to be at $100, Angel, we need $100 cost per conversion, no more. As long as you achieve that, we are happy. I do not care about the quality score if I am getting $100 cost, if I'm getting a $60, $70, $80 cost per conversion. It doesn't matter to me so much. Now, if I'm looking for strategies in order to reduce that cost per conversion, hey, I might look at that quality score, because if you bring up the quality score, you'll reduce the cost of the average CPC. If you can reduce the cost of the average CPC, you tend to see the cost per conversion drop down as well. So I may look at that quality score and I may go, hey, can I improve, like, how do the responsive search ads look? Do they mention anything of this? If they look at the quality of the ads, do they go, hey, let me look at the landing page? Is there any instances of the words that I'm using, of the words that I'm targeting as far as keyword goes? Are there any instances of the keywords that I'm targeting in the landing page? How is the strength of my responsive search ads? All these little things in order to improve the quality score that is actually still relevant to the Google Ads account and can be, approved upon and are valid optimizations. We can use all that in tandem with looking at the quality score in order to reduce that cost per conversion, right? If they're not mentioning anything of that nature, red flag. Red flag. If they are, green flag. Tip number 4, another big one: understand their strategies for setting up accounts and auditing accounts, right? So obviously, if you're hiring for the role, let's say you're a marketing company and you're hiring for the role, you're gonna have them doing a ton of account builds and a ton of maybe not audits, but you're gonna have them doing a lot of onboarding type of situations with the new clients and clients that need new accounts set up. So you want to actually get an understanding for how they think when setting up an account and how they think when auditing an account and what optimizations and improvements they can make, right? So for example, basically just ask them, what is your process for setting up a new account? Now, if they're not talking about any type of, ask them, even better yet, ask them certain facets of the account build, right? So if they go, oh yeah, I do this, this, and this, but they're talking very vaguely general, ask those poking questions is what I like to call them. Okay, that's interesting. So when you're building out the keyword list, as you mentioned, what are you usually using in order to find those keywords? Oh, I'm just going to Google. I might do they have a solid way of finding new keywords? Do they use the keyword planner, or do they have third-party software that they use? Do they just go to Google? Do they talk about putting themselves in the customer's shoes and how do they search for things? Like, are they talking about anything of in depth in their setup process? And does their setup process actually make sense to what's best for the actual build? Point number 5. This is a really good tip. Ask them to do a live audit. Okay, if you are a marketing company and you already have you know, or if you're just a company in general and you're hiring for this position and you already have an account, let them have read access, and then ask them, even if you're doing good, if you're doing good within the account, even better, because I like to see how people, or I would like to see how a person looks at the account and where they can make optimizations. If they just start pulling random shit out their ass, like, oh, you could change up the keywords here, but this keyword is on par with our KPIs. Why would we change that? Ask them these poking questions based on everything they're saying within the live audit, right? And so within the live audit, like I said, take them through, if you have possibly an account that's doing well and then an account that's doing bad, right? Ask them, what would you do in this situation? And it don't take a long time. We're not doing a whole entire full audit. Literally just take 15 minutes. You just want to and you're basically just looking for an idea of how they think, right? So if I was going through an account that was performing bad, first off, right off the bat, I want to understand, what are the conversions? What's the primary goals? Who's our target audience? And I'm asking those questions first. Target audience, what is the main conversion goals? What are we tracking for? I'm going to go into another thing. Once you give them read access, let them I think on Zoom is the one where you could take over the mouse. Let them take it over and see where they're clicking through. Where are they going first? Are they going to, because I'm going straight to the conversions tab. I want to know, are they even do they even set up tracking correctly? Because that happens so often. Are they even set up tracking correctly? I want to know, like I said, what are the primary goals? What are the secondary goals? I don't even care about the secondary. What are the primary goals? What are they tracking for? Is it form fills, calls? Then I'm going into the campaigns. Which one is, where the conversion, all the main conversions coming from? Where the conversion is not coming from? What keywords are performing well? What keywords are not performing well? You can get an idea of how well this person kind of knows what to do within an audit, just based on within the first 15 minutes. I believe so, right? And then if it's a well-performing account, like I said, you kind of just want to, well, where's their head at within that well-performing account? Like, are they looking for you? Are they going to tell you the honest truth? Like, hey, look, this is just kind of like poking for the integrity of the person, right? Are they going to tell you the honest truth? Because I'm going to tell you, I'm like, listen, there's not that much more you can do. You told me that the cost per conversion goal was $100. If you're on par for $100, if you already have a cost per acquisition below $100, what improvements do you need? Are you looking to spend more? Because that's a different scenario. If you're looking to spend more, then let's talk about that. But if you're looking to be on par with your KPI goals, you're already on par with your KPI goals. There's no changes that need to be made. The more changes that you make usually ends up in worse results, in my opinion, right? If they're not saying anything like that, usually to me that's a red flag. But yeah, that's a really good tip. Take them through have them perform a live audit, right? Have them perform a live audit on a bad performing account, and have them perform a live audit on a well performing account. And then last but not least, this is just a general tip. Can they talk the talk? Can they have an in-depth conversation about the strategies and what's going on in the PPC world? Can they talk in depth about this field? Like, it's very easy to poke this out. Like, are they having a conversation? Me, I have a bit of an ADHD type of vibe, so I tend to just start rambling, and I get really involved. I love PPC, so it's like you'll hear me you'll say one subject about PPC, and I'll just, oh, I remember this was going on in this. I'll give you actual examples of account that I ran previously, and it's just, my mind would just go everywhere with it. So it's very easy for someone to tell, like, okay, this person really kind of knows what they're talking about. They had to been doing it. Like, they just had to been doing it, because they're not going to know certain things if they weren't managing. Like, oh, how do you feel about enhanced CPC? I would not recommend doing it in the beginning, but I'll just kind of go into my reason why. Do they have some personality to them? I think that's another thing. Like, when you're hiring, are they a good fit for this company? Are they just going to be bland? And because a bland person is not going to always be appealing to the clients, because it's my personal opinion that you should have the PPC marketers interacting with the clients, because when you have a solid understanding of what the client wants and how they want things run, or what they expect is really what I'm looking for. What do they expect? It's really good to have that the PPC person that's managing the account within those meetings. That's just my personal opinion. I always find that it helps me, and it also gives me more, not sense of responsibility, but just more of not an attachment to an account either. I don't really know what the word I'm looking for, but it gives me a sense of more realization that this account is attached to a real person. Like it helps. Trust me, it helps. If you're just managing a bunch of accounts, like marketing companies, please listen. If you have your PPC manager just managing a bunch of accounts and you never let them meet the clients, or they're never getting to show the clients the account that they build, it almost feels like you're just a cog in a giant factory. Like you're just a cog in a giant factory. You have no sense of worth. Like it just doesn't, you don't feel good about the accounts you're just like, oh great, another account. It doesn't attach some humanization to it. So I would recommend, if you're a marketing company, please allow your PPC marketers to be interacting with the clients. I mean, if they don't want to, then that's them. Me personally, I want to interact with the clients. I want to get a feel for how this account should be managed. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, this might have been a long video. I know I gotta do a lot of editing, so for it. But yeah, so those are my 5 tips with a little bit of extra sauce thrown on it. If you have any questions, comments, if you want to talk about this more in depth, if you're a fellow PPC marketer, if you're a marketing company head and you just want to talk about this kind of concept more, I'm all ears. I love talking. So I'm definitely open to that. You can send me a DM, or this will be LinkedIn, so you can just send me an email. You can send me a connection request, whatever it may be. Totally open to having conversations with people about this topic, because I love PPC and I'm very passionate about it, and I could talk about it for hours. So yeah, this is Angel Tyler Brown, PPC aficionado, signing off.